Tarot3.com. Today is March 3rd, 2016. This is the Black Star Update Report connected to Volume 9 of Tarot's 2016 newsletter. And the seismic, volcanic, and magnetic pole migration indicators, that should be an S right there. Gonna fix that. They all say that we're about 1 month into the Earth change uptick period, which is exactly what it's supposed to show. If you're looking at the values from last year versus this year, there's some differences, pretty much the same. What we should be looking at, see this number right here is a little bit high, seems a little bit high, but for the last 2 cycles, starting the reporting dates going from Sunday to Saturday, they've been pretty much starting on the weekends. Now I can see where the weeks are mashing together. So we have 2 high values. I can show you down here in the chart a little more. See how, let's see, the year before, if you click up here on the 2014-2015 final chart, you'll see a very similar pattern. Right here, this was 176, and in 2014, this number was 536. So since the weeks started just when they were supposed to, Sunday to Saturday, then we saw this big jolt, and then you see the pattern says we're going to have a decline. We're going to get down to about 206 by the time we get ready to go into the severe uptick period near the near side alignment. When you look down at the bottom of the chart, this is where we are now, then we didn't get all the way down to my 186 that I expected right here. I think, again, that's because the uptick week is spread out right here. So this value didn't jump down sharply. It just went down 20 from last week because we're combining together. That's what I think is happening. And looking at the pattern going backwards, then this jolt right here, we've already passed it. And it didn't even up in my chart the way it should, but the 2-week values are still adding. Look, the 2-week value is still over 500. That's where we're supposed to be. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen in weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4, the first 4 weeks of the cycle. This is going to stop. These values are going to diminish. Now, even though we're in the uptick period, this has to do, this is the leading hypothesis on what's going on here. Bonnie wanted me to explain this a little better for people so you can understand what's going on here. Okay, so let's imagine with me that we're on the back side of the sun relative to the black star. That happened at the end of November. Remember we had the Peruvian quakes? The black star, Peruvian quakes, actually it was back a little bit more, okay, around in this area. Now let's just imagine with me the black star is over in this area. Now, as we're going this way, the black star is going the opposite way. That magnetic portal connection is getting longer and longer, and the thing to realize is it's being pulled behind us. So the C that it's creating is behind us this way. But then something mysterious happens when we get to outside orbit position. Because the black star is over here in Libra, we reach that 90-degree angle in the first week of February. This magnetic portal connection that's been looped behind us now notice we're going towards the black star. What happens to the magnetic portal connection? It shortens rapidly. The C that's going this way is eventually going to be a backwards C as we're moving between the 2 stars in May. So the black star's out here. This magnetic portal connection is following us behind the Earth this way. There's a transition that happens through here. This magnetic portal connection at its maximum length, it goes from its maximum length out here, and as we're moving towards it, then it's like fishing, fly fishing. You're reeling very quickly. You're having to reel very quickly to take the slack out. This slack is coming out. Magnetic portal connection, it's shortening, shortening, shortening based upon Earth orbital velocity. We're moving directly towards it. Then we receive the first jolt when we turn the corner. We receive the next jolt. Let me go back, see if I can get back to the chart here for you. We receive the next jolt right here in week number 5 coming up. See, right now we're in week number 3. In week number 5. Now look at the 5 magnitude earthquakes. At the jolt, they were pretty darn high, up to 30. Then they're going to diminish, diminish, diminish. Week number 4, look at the minimum value. Then it doubles in week 5. That has to do with the magnetic portal connection tightening up, and then all of a sudden, all this juice that's being sent. So it's black star redirected solar electromagnetism. It's coming from the magnetic portal connection of the black star. That's what causes this jolt in the 6 magnitude earthquakes right here. You see this one from last year, week number 4, we got the 7 magnitude earthquake. When we go down the chart, we've already had, see, it was after Sunday. It's going to appear right here. I'm sorry. Down in this box right here for next week, we're going to have a 7 magnitude earthquake. Same thing that we saw last year in week number 4. We should expect an uptick in the 6s. And this week we had no 6s for 7 days. That value is definitely going to go up. And then we're going to be looking at the jolt value. And we'll see there's another 7 coming for week 6. We'll see this jolt right here has to do with the shortening magnetic portal connection. All of a sudden, the juice that's coming through that connection is going from slow, slow, slow at the end of the orbit cycle, of the end of the last orbit cycle, the lull period, now being juiced up again. So it's like turning on your oven. It takes a while for it to heat up. So we have the heating up starting back here in week 1, but then we get to where the electromagnetic influence begins really jolting the Earth right through here. Week number 5, week number 6, and we'll see if the pattern follows. So you see the next week we could very well have a lower number of 5 magnitude earthquakes. See, it went down 10 last year, then doubled right after that. Then it remained high at 36, but then you see this value is going to drop down again and then jump again in week 9. That's what we expect until we reach this high value of 46 and 43 after we have the near side alignment event. That event is coming this year, the first week of April. See how, the first week of May. See how it happened at the end of April last year? This year's going to be in the beginning of May. That's what's expected to happen. So these high seismic values, look at all these big quakes, they take place about 2 weeks later than they did last year. That's the pattern that I expect to see that should hold for this orbit cycle that's going forward. So the 7.8 Sumatra quake, the one that we just had, it was predicted by the modeling. It's not that I came out and said, well, which I did say if you go back to past. Oh, I sound like Dutch sense there. Let me go back in time to see when I said around May the 1st, March the 1st, we want to give it about a month before we're going to start seeing these 7s popping up. So week number 4, that's when it's going to happen. It took about a month, and it took place May the 2nd instead of May the 1st. Basically what I was talking about right there. So then 4 new volcanic eruptions this week, and that's a little bit on the low end of the scale. Expect that number that number is going to go up. And all the way through May, I expect the global volcanoes to crest like Kilauea in the month of May, right around when the time we're having our near side alignment event. That's because we are in near proximity to the black star. The black star Earth magnetic portal connection is at its shortest length of this cycle in the month of May. That's the reason why. The Earth is getting juiced up, electromagnetism, Earth metals, through induction, converting that electromagnetic energy into heat energy, goes to the core, and it speeds up the caterpillar crawl of the earthquake events, Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire. Let me look at the earthquakes here for a minute. Yeah, I was looking at the 7.8 right there. And this is where the activity begins, the cycle. Where's that activity going to go? That activity is going to go around the northern and southern regions of the Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire. Let's look at the quake depths right here. See, this jump, this happened at the end of the last cycle, remember? I was saying you're going to see 600-kilometer deep earthquakes in South America. It happened at the end of the cycle. The Peruvian quakes, pair of them on the backside alignment, both beyond 600 kilometers deep. Then we saw that magma wave continue to move north till it got just about to Nicaragua, right around in this area right here. And this is where we see this plume of activity, right here. So along in this area right here is where that magma wave stalled, just like it stalled to the north between Kamchatka and Alaska, right through here. Pressure's built, and then we've been through a low period, so they've been relaxing. Watch for this area, and when you look at where the new volcanic eruptions kicked off, 2 down here near the southern wave, down in this area, and 1 of them right over here. And you can have, so look at all this deep activity. You can have volcanic activity from any of these these are locations deep in the earth of rising magma plumes. So that pressure doesn't necessarily have to come straight up. Depends on the underground subterranean magma environment. It has Mississippi rivers flowing. It's not just stagnant, it's dynamic. And it looks something like the top of the earth with our rivers and streams and the differences. It's not just a static environment down there. Things move around. So a plume that comes up that begins rising here can actually affect Kilauea. It can affect all the way on the other side of the Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire, depending on how those underground flows are going. Now, what I did notice this week is the quake events at the Oklahoma quake swarm area. Look, there's a lot of them, but they are only reaching down now to about 7 kilometers. They were beyond 13, 18 kilometers just a couple of weeks ago. And then we were looking at many 20-kilometer deep events right here. Now I'm only seeing 1. There's one at 21, there's one at 17, there's another one at 17. We had 3 or 4 beyond 20 kilometers last week. So the shallowing up. The biggest thing in the news right now. The biggest story for the week, this featured story right here, carbon monoxide in California. If you guys haven't seen this yet, seen the pictures of what's going on, this is providing, let me see if I can get you a picture here. It's called the carbon monoxide. These are precursors to gigantic quake events that are coming. This is not just a small deal. Look at the entire US West Coast. And what's happening, look at these images right here. What's happening is this is the convergence zone. This is where the northern wave and southern wave are going to come together. So think about this as a single system, like the plumbing system in your house. And you got pressures that are varying north and south. So you're getting that gurgle gurgle in the pipes. That you can hear through the vents. You can hear through your drains. It's the bubbling up coming up. And this right here is caused by the separating of the tectonic plates. This happened since Solomon Island, February 6, 2013. The tectonic shift is coming from away. These plates that are pressed against the North American craton are now moving southwest this way. Very, very slowly, but a cascade has already started since 2013. That's why you're having all these earthquakes in Oklahoma. Pressure shifts, volcanic and tectonic. Pressure shifts out west. These tectonic, it's not that the pressure is increasing seismically, they are decreasing. That means greater opportunity for slippage. And that's why we are seeing this new line of earthquake activity right here running from Texas across to Seattle pointing at Cascadia. These new earthquake events. Remember 2 years ago? This was a California quake swarm area. Just this area was there. This is all what's developed since. That is happening partly because of the seismic cascade, these tectonic plates shifting this way to make up the space for the broken tectonic plate in this Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire tectonic dynamic right here. But this gas that's coming up right here is coming up between the cracks, between the plates, between the faults that are opening up. That's what's happening out there. Whenever these waves, these deep magma waves regain momentum, they're going to push from the south, from Nicaragua, where it is now, where it's percolating right now. It's going to reach up through Mexico. You're going to see a line of earthquakes, a string of them, deep ones, coming up from the south at the same time that I should probably be showing you this on here. Because we're seeing them here. They're not as deep as they were previously because the Earth change uptick period is still gaining steam. 72 kilometers, pretty darn deep. But remember on the last cycle, that right down in here, we were seeing 600 kilometers deep. Now they've shallowed up to about 162 kilometers. Watch for these earthquake events to get deeper. Same thing with the Alaska quake swarm area right here. What are the depths we're looking at right now? 125, 192, 108, many beyond 100 kilometers. Watch for these earthquake events to get deeper and deeper also. So they're going to pile up on the north, they're going to pile up to the south, they're eventually going to converge right here. When this wave from the north comes in, this wave from the south comes in, this is not a passing wave, this is where they converge. Right here. Two waves. That's what's going to cause massive crustal displacement. My view, remember the North American craton, 250 kilometers deep, stationary, basically stationary. These plates pushed against it go from maybe 100 kilometers down to 60 kilometers just off the coast. Very, very shallow. So these earthquakes get deeper, magma plumes rise underneath it, two waves are going to come by and converge and want to lower first, just like a tsunami coming in. The waves lower and then push up. That's what I'm expecting to happen here in the future. And these right here, this right here is a warning sign. This is fluctuation. This could be actually a sign because these quake events have gotten shallower. But that's to be expected before they start getting severely deeper. Just like the tsunami phenomenon. The tide goes out and then it massively, you don't even realize it, you're lulled to sleep. Looks like, hey, let's go to the shoreline, see what's happening. No, that means the big wave is coming. And the big wave crests at the end of the uptick period. That's coming in May. So this type of event, as a precursor event, is danger. This right here is danger. Those of you living along the US West Coast, this is an indicator right here. This is a warning sign telling you something is coming. What you can do, because there's nothing imminent at the moment, so what you can do is watch the quake event depths. And remember all the warnings about Cascadia, the linchpin event that I expect to happen there. A lot of people are expecting a giant quake here, and it's for darn good reasons. There's a lot of information out there. You're not hearing about the information through mainstream media, but the magma intrusion already happening in Yellowstone is going to be intensifying. The magma that comes up from deep underground when these deep earthquakes start is very fluffy, and it rises and expands. So it displaces the heavier magma that's partly the reason that the Earth crust is being held up. And that's what leads to the scenario. Go to the maps, Navy map of the future, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Because this right here is where the giant inland sea is created, and you're looking at the precursors of it happening right now. Remember, these are dominoes that were stacked up all the way back to Sumatra, December 2004. Cracking up of the tectonic plates in Indonesia, then the breaking of the tectonic plate in the Solomon Islands. The Cascade is moving that way. The deep earthquake, 677 kilometers after Nepal, was a month after Nepal. Last year, my predicted quake. That set off a series of 600-kilometer deep quakes, and they're converging right here. Even though it's difficult for you to see the pattern is definitely there. And there's a list of earthquakes that I provided in this newsletter because I wrote about it. I'm putting the right here. These are the warning dates for the warning videos that I've sent out already for the people along the West Coast, going back to July 17th, 2014. See the warning link here? Read it. Read what's going on. They're talking about the expanding Earth. And that's from magma expansion from the inside because of all the increased solar electromagnetism, because the black star is getting closer and closer and closer and closer. Lots of commentary here in the articles in the featured section. See what else did I want to, oh yeah, I want to look at the magnetic pole migration. And you see a slowdown. The movement moving down the chart is just about half what it was in the last 7 days. Here is the March 27th position from last year. So if you draw a line from the center out here, bring it away, then you're going to see that as this comes down, it's going to be behind, trailing March 27th. When we get there, it's going to be trailing last year by 11 to 13 days. This is the same 11 to 13 days that we have in the seismic chart. This seismic chart begins later each year. So look at the very top here. These 2 weeks are not the same calendar weeks, but it's the same third week of each orbit cycle. The orbit cycle starts 11 to 13 days later, but my reporting goes 14 days. That's why we're seeing fluctuations and anomalies in the readings that's going on there. So Bonnie wrote about this too. Try to clarify this right here, why we're doing this. This is not measuring changing tilt in the Earth axis rotation, the Earth wobble. You go to wobble.com, you think they're talking about the Earth actually geographically changing the North Pole? No, that would change Polaris as our North Star. That's not happening. We're tracking the magnetic North Pole movement. The reason it is significant is because we're able to predict, like this date right here, December 1st, 2015. How'd you make that prediction, Carol? Because last year the top of the chart was November the 16th. All I did was just add the 11 to 13 days. And we're able to do that every year. You don't have to be a genius to be able to figure that out. The marking that I made here should have been below the 360 instead of above. That was my mistake. I goofed up. And I told everybody that. So we're just going to watch and see how this plays out. I'm telling you how it is supposed to work. And this mark down here should trail this mark by 11 to 13 days. The hypothesis is that the migrating magnetic North Pole is moving in this circular fashion because the Earth is moving around the sun and because of the magnetic influence of the black star. This is not because of shifting Earth metals, shifting Earth core, or anything like that. This is the influence of another magnet. Bring a third medium-sized magnet into the picture. The sun has magnetic polarity control of our Earth, and the migrating magnetic North Pole, the North Pole, is the pole that has the reverse polarity. That's the one that's being affected. The Earth is going to be tipped backwards. The northern hemisphere is going to be tipped away from the black star whenever it gets close enough to wrestle total magnetic polarity control from the sun. So this movement is an indicator of the sun and the black star arm wrestling for magnetic polarity control of our planet. That's what it is. And these locations tell us, when you look at 2014, 2013, 2012, then you see a progressive pattern of the trailing. And the same thing in the seismic chart. This is one of the discoveries that Project Black Star investigation has made that has nobody else has figured out. I'm very proud of it. We're going to keep monitoring it as we go. Then Project Heroes for the week that include Orville and Alex, Ryan, and Frederick. This is another week that belonged to the fellas. The guys are all over this one. 4 gentlemen. Subscribe this week to Terrell's 2016 newsletter to get full benefits. Then Victory and James renewed their subscriptions from previous years, and Randy made another nice donation to the research. She's already a super subscriber with lifetime benefits, actually. Appreciate you guys' support very, very much. And see what else is in here. I want to try to keep this a little bit, this one below 40 minutes if possible, and see if I can run across something right here. This carbon monoxide event, by far the biggest event that's happened in some time. You people on the West Coast? Oh, the date setter thing. This starts on page 14. Now, I mentioned it in the update report. I'm getting a lot of flack from John DiNardo, who's a contributor to the newsletter. He's been sharing information for the last couple of years, like Sheldon Day and lots of others. But Marshall Masters, so you guys, I know Marshall Masters. My first radio show ever was with Marshall Masters, a member of his elite research team. He took 3 people as a panelist. I modeled my radio show presentations after him using Deacon John, do my geopolitical analysis, and Hijacker. That's where he came from. He's a good think tank type dude, real smart. Right now he's a little distracted by the flat Earth nonsense. Not sure what that's all about. But Earth Play, good geologist. He was on there too. I modeled it after Marshall Masters, but I also have tried to share information with Marshall Masters. Since then, they booted me off of his what is it, Planet X website. It's a forum, planetxforum.com or whatever it is. And I've tried to share information with him, like Dr. Morrison, like Gilbert Erickson, Andy Lloyd, just about anybody that seems to have half a brain. And Marshall Masters doesn't want to have anything to do with anything. And now I'm a false date setter. If these people would go back in time and look, they would see that May 1st last year was my prediction, and Nepal came April 25th. Fukushima was predicted back in 2011 for March the 15th. It came on March 11th. Okay, so I expect the May 7th date this year to hold true. I'm not predicting the end of the world. This is another near-side alignment quake event. It's going to affect people locally to the event that's going to happen. Where is it going to happen? I don't know. I couldn't say it's going to happen in Japan in 2011 or Guerrero, Mexico. I didn't know the event, but I did say that there are going to be precursor quake events, 4 to 6 magnitude, a stack of flags that appeared at these locations, and that's what's been happening. So the idea is to gather enough information to build a baseline. That's what the seismic chart's about, the magnetic pole migration, the number of earthquakes that happen every week, watching the patterns of what's going. That gives you a baseline of information. Then you can construct a predictive model using that information and say, this is what's going to happen next. That's what the investigation is based upon. And if I'm the one that takes responsibility for May the 7th, nobody else is doing that except for me from the modeling. I'm not just picking these numbers out of thin air. This is what the binary star repulsion model says. Now that I realize the 188-day cycle is here for a reason. As the black star is coming closer, it's slowing down because of magnetic repulsion to the sun. It's giving it a regular 188-day cycle, or adding 12 days to the cycle. And I did the math today, going back to Sumatra, because Dutch Sense, he misquoted the Sumatra quake was the one from December 2004, not the March 2005. He was trying to make a case for these quakes happening in the month of March. That only happened in 2011 and 12. After that, we were into April. The last year, we're in April 25th. Now we're going into May. This is a progressive pattern that gets later in the year. So these people that are throwing stones from the sidelines, they do not have any modeling. All they have is 1983 articles about what NASA thought they were looking for, and Richard Harrington disinformation. If you ask me, his object was on the opposite side of the solar system as the black star was. This is all they have, is regurgitated disinformation. If you ask me, they're trying to control the narrative, and they got this wannabe, whatever you want to call me, pseudoscientist, whatever you want to call me, trying to move in on what they're trying to do there. And so this is exactly, I'm being attacked just like with the 9/11 research, going back before 2010. The entire 9/11 movement was fake. They're selling 25,000 different explanations, digging rabbit holes everywhere. No, who's been brought to justice for 9/11? Has Bush, Cheney, or Rumsfeld? No. And they're never going to be, because the lettered agencies are running the movement. Same thing's going with the Planet X Nibiru movement. I got Dr. Morrison writing me say there is no Planet X. I wrote him back and said, I agree, there is no Planet X. That's the disinformation. It's not a planet. It's the invisible collapsed binary twin to our sun. That's what's causing all the Earth changes. So I'll try to include it next week. We had a big back and forth here recently. It's not in this newsletter. I'll try to get it into next week. Much of the same information I was sharing, the Martian dust storm from March 12, 2012, the reversing magnetopause, those happened on the same day. I want to know what he says could possibly cause that. because Dr. Morrison has never sent an email with a link to anything, ever. He just says, oh, there's no Planet X, and boy, the guy must be a massive genius. He thinks he just has to write one sentence to refute pages and pages and pages of evidence. Here's an interesting article from Frank, and he's been a contributor for some time too. He's got a video link here, and which his event coincided with mine. He said February 29th, March 1st. I said March 1st. It happened March 2nd. And he's going to give you a planetary alignment hypothesis. Mine is because of the magnetic portal connection shortening and increased electromagnetism. It happens a month in. So this, if you're in the first month of February, at the first week of February, and the new cycle starts, expect the beginning of March, then you're going to have your quake event, because that's how long it takes for the oven to heat up and things to get going again. I did write a lengthy presentation to a lot of these NASA people, and here's my reply to Dr. Green, and here's his email address if you want to write them. There were 12 others that were on the list. These are the coordinates where the black star will be on May the 7th. It's right there in the Libra constellation, just below the ecliptic plane. And so I gave him a long list of information, and received reply from absolutely nobody. Then see, I'm looking at my clock here. Now we're at a half an hour. Lots and lots of really good information. Here's an underwater city. Pretty darn good images right here, the underground city, and what this chain looked like before the black star came. My view, black star's been changing. It's been terraforming our planet for quite some time. It makes cities that are above ground underground, and it raises up new areas. Then these are just featured articles. Those are just the featured articles, 28 pages, including my opening report. And then we get into these top stories of the week. And I just want to remind you that the radio show I'm going to do at 4 o'clock, you'll see a 3-3 right here. I'm going to upload this before the radio show and then re-upload it after the show. That's when this link right here is going to show up. And my radio shows are at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 4 to 5. That's where people can go to get a free link. If you're watching this on YouTube, then I am continuing to provide free links to individual newsletters because, look, people are coming to support the research. They're getting this single edition, and they're going, dang, this stuff's pretty darn good. So this looks like this is going to continue from now on. As long as a few people are coming along to help me each week, I want everybody to have the information. Share the YouTube videos. That has the free link in the description box. That's the best way that YouTubers can help the Project Black Star research. You don't have $25 a year to subscribe at terralo3.com. That's perfectly fine. There's still a way for you to get the individual newsletters, and for those non-subscribers, you can write me at terralo@terralo3.com. Just go to my website, terralo3.com, click on this link. You'll see Contact Terralo button. Doesn't mean I answer that every day. It doesn't work that way for non-subscribers. Every day, hours and hours and hours, I'm answering emails for the newsletter subscribers. Sometimes there's pages of them. That's where my time's invested every single day. When you become a newsletter subscriber, I answer your emails every single day. That's the way that it's supposed to work. You guys are supporting the research. That's where my loyalties are, just like that's where your loyalties are. I appreciate that. Again, very, very much. And I think that's pretty much what I want to share with you. Is there anything that I didn't cover? You looked at the magnetic pole migration. You know where we are in the solar system right here. Let's put it on the actual day here. And if you know the black star is right about here, you can see that we're inside that 90-degree angle. Oh, there's something else I wanted to point out to you too. Let's look at the Earth and where the moon was on the 2nd. The black star is right here. Look at the line that we have with Mars, the Earth, and the moon. We're in a straight line with each other. That's when we had the big quake. Is that a coincidence? I don't know, but this is like the 4th time it's happened. It doesn't happen during the lull periods. It happens during the uptick periods. So if I was to give you another date, and I'm sure somebody remembers, I'm pointing out March the 1st and 2nd because the moon's coming into alignment with the black star. Did that either in the last video or the one before. Let's move this forward just a little bit. And I know I get criticized saying, oh, you're trying to use this program. This is not precise. I want to give you a good visual picture. See, around March the 14th, we're going to have that similar line. Maybe it's the 13th. No, let's see. I think it's going to be right about there. Early morning hours of the 14th. Let's see if we have another quake, because the moon is going to become more of a player as the black star gets closer and closer. So this right here is like a full moon for the moon relative to the black star. The earthquake we just had happened on the new moon. Okay, so watch for another sizable earthquake event March the 14th when the moon swings around behind the earth. The sun has nothing to do with it. This is an alignment between the earth, the moon, and the black star. Mars is a little bit out of the picture. Then the last thing that I want to, let me see if I can get this where I want it. Okay, here's the thing to watch. As the earth comes around, I was trying to show you this last week and it somehow got hung up on me. Look at, as we get around May the 7th, then we're going to be coming into alignment with the black star and the earth. Let's see again how that moon's going to play in there. See, that moon is coming on the back side on May the 6th. The moon could be a player in what's happening here. And look at Mercury. You're getting pretty darn close to an alignment right here. I know it's not exact, but with the moon swinging around, the black star out here in Libra, you can see what I'm talking about here. So here's the key. Mars is in a very similar position relative to the sun, the earth, and the black star that it was in 2012. The black star is going to be pretty close to Mars' position because I think it's maybe just beyond Mars. That means there's another opportunity for that Martian dust storm formation like on March 12, 2012. And I think that it's going to happen because it happened before the alignment last time. I'm thinking it's going to happen as these magnetic portal connections are converging right around May the 1st. And it should happen right on the back side of Mars, not on the sun side, on the back side of Mars. So let's watch for that to happen too. There's a lot of events based on what's happened in the past. I'm not proclaiming to be some kind of prophet or anything. I'm doing the research, doing the science, and this is what the modeling says. When you see a pattern, you look for it to repeat itself. If it doesn't repeat itself, you try to figure out why. But that's what goes on here at Project Black Star. And my view is that everybody should want someone looking out for what's coming from space. Is there any evidence? If there is evidence, it's being shared with me by my subscribers and contributors. That's a lot of people working together. I'm the disseminator. They send it in. I try to make sense out of it, what's going on. I would think that everyone should want at least one person looking in space, looking for patterns to tell us if there's something coming, because there are so many massive changes that are taking place around us. This is the answer in my mind. I think I'm on the right path. I think I'm right about this stuff. The patterns keep happening the way that they're supposed to. Okay, with that, I'll let you go, and I'll see you on the next support the research at terror3.com. And I'm going to keep the, like I said earlier, keep the free campaign going with the YouTube. Share it with your YouTubers. Let's try to get my YouTube numbers up. Appreciate that very much, and I'll see you guys on the next Black Star Update Report. Hello, YouTube and newsletter subscribers. This is Terrell from terror3.com. Today is March 3rd, 2016. This is the Black Star Update Report connected to Volume 9 of Terrell's 2016 newsletter. And the seismic, volcanic, and magnetic pole migration indicators, that should be an S right there. Gonna fix that. They all say that we're about 1 month into the Earth change uptick period, which is exactly what it's supposed to show. If you're looking at the values from last year versus this year, there's some differences, pretty much the same. And what we should be looking at, see this number right here is a little bit high, seems a little bit high, but for the last 2 cycles, starting the reporting dates going from Sunday to Saturday, they've been pretty much starting on the weekends. Now I can see where the weeks are mashing together. So we have 2 high values. I can show you down here in the chart a little more. See how, let's see, the year before, if you click up here on the 2014-2015 final chart, you'll see a very similar pattern. Right here, this was 176, and in 2014, this number was 536. So since the week started just when they were supposed to, Sunday to Saturday, then we saw this big jolt, and then you see the pattern says we're going to have a decline. We're going to get down to about 206 by the time we get ready to go into the severe uptick period near the near side alignment. And when you look down at the bottom of the chart, this is where we are now, then we didn't get all the way down to my 186 that I expected right here. I think, again, that's because the uptick week is spread out right here. So this value didn't jump down sharply. It just went down 20 from last week because we're combining together. That's what I think is happening. And looking at the pattern going backwards, then this jolt right here, we've already passed it. And it didn't even up in my chart the way it should, but the 2-week values are still adding. Look, the 2-week value is still over 500. That's where we're supposed to be. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen in weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4, the first 4 weeks of the cycle. This is going to stop. These values are going to diminish. Now, even though we're in the uptick period, this has to do, this is the leading hypothesis on what's going on here. Bonnie wanted me to explain this a little better for people so you can understand what's going on here. Okay, so let's imagine with me that we're on the back side of the sun relative to the black star. That happened at the end of November. Remember we had the Peruvian quakes? The black star, Peruvian quakes, actually it was back a little bit more, okay, around in this area. Now let's just imagine with me the black star is over in this area. Now, as we're going this way, the black star is going the opposite way. That magnetic portal connection is getting longer and longer, and the thing to realize is it's being pulled behind us. So the C that it's creating is behind us this way. But then something mysterious happens when we get to outside orbit position. Because the black star is over here in Libra, we reach that 90-degree angle in the first week of February. This magnetic portal connection that's been looped behind us now notice we're going towards the black star. What happens to the magnetic portal connection? It shortens rapidly. The C that's going this way is eventually going to be a backwards C as we're moving between the two stars in May. So the black star's out here. This magnetic portal connection is following us behind the Earth this way. There's a transition that happens through here. This magnetic portal connection at its maximum length, it goes from its maximum length out here, and as we're moving towards it, then it's like fishing, fly fishing. You're reeling very quickly. You're having to reel very quickly to take the slack out. This slack is coming out. Magnetic portal connection, it's shortening, shortening, shortening based upon Earth orbital velocity. We're moving directly towards it. Then we receive the first jolt when we turn the corner. We receive the next jolt. Let me go back, see if I can get back to the chart here for you. We receive the next jolt right here in week number 5 coming up. See, right now we're in week number 3. In week number 5. Now look at the 5 magnitude earthquakes. At the jolt, they were pretty darn high, up to 30. Then they're going to diminish, diminish, diminish. Week number 4, look at the minimum value. Then it doubles in week 5. That has to do with the magnetic portal connection tightening up, and then all of a sudden, all this juice that's being sent. So it's black star redirected solar electromagnetism. It's coming from the magnetic portal connection of the black star. That's what causes this jolt in the 6 magnitude earthquakes right here. You see this one from last year, week number 4, we got the 7 magnitude earthquake. When we go down the chart, we've already had, see, it was after Sunday. It's going to appear right here. I'm sorry, down in this box right here for next week. We're going to have a 7 magnitude earthquake. Same thing that we saw last year in week number